but I would love to get a Jay Bruce type guy. I saw something before I came on that there's at least some dialogue about Moustakas, which will present some interesting dynamics as far as positioning goes. But yeah, and we'll dive into that, I guess, a little bit in the next segment. All right, so we've basically been on par all the way through. Dave, how do you grade the performance of Alex Cora so far?
I love Alex Cora. I think he's the closest thing we're ever going to go, and I honestly don't think he's that far off at the small size. But I give him a flat out A. I don't give any manager an A plus because every manager makes dumb mistakes. I mean, Terry Francona called the wrong guy out of the bullpen the other day, and they called him because of it.
Well, that was his bench coach, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was one of those things where, like, he said OT, they thought OP, but why is that even why is it that close? It should be go get me Braden, go get me Ryan, go get me Terry. But everyone makes mistakes out there, and if you want to say A plus, sure, but I wouldn't argue it. But I think a solid A. I think he's been unbelievable, especially in Boston, as a player's manager, as a actual in between the lines type of guy. I mean, he DFA'd Hanley Ramirez, the rumors are. So to go from working with the young guys and working and having a good relationship to also putting your foot down to be like, you're starting, you're coming back out, you're getting DFA'd. I want this, I want that. I think that's perfect, and not every manager can do that. We saw it with Farrell, we saw it with Valentine, and you see it throughout the league. Look at, idiot over there, Aaron Boone. He's blowing games left and right for the Yankees when they do lose, and it's usually all on him. So I love Cora. I think it's a flat-out A, and I think it was an out-of-the-park home run for him to come back and manage this team.
Austin, how do you grade the manager?
Not to sound like a broken record, but Dave's right. What has Cora done to upset anybody? He's managing this bullpen extremely well to the best of his ability. He's put his foot down with Chris Sale and said, hey, you're coming out right now. There's no talking about it. There's no anything like that. You're not going to convince him that he can stay in. You're not going to convince Cora that you can stay in. He's been awesome managing Chris's pitch count, whether it's, standing his ground on the lineup was one of the big, things in the beginning of the season, saying Mookie Betts is my leadoff hitter. This isn't changing. While we don't agree that Mookie should be hitting leadoff, I appreciate the fact that he's standing his ground on it. The way he's handling the media in Boston, like Dave said, amazing. Like Dave said again, DFAing Hanley Ramirez, everything like that. What is there not to like about Alex Cora right now?
All right. I'm going to be the first one to kind of break this a little bit, but I give him a B. Some of my concerns here aren't going to be unique. I mean, I've kind of harped on a lot of it all last season. I'll start with the good that I like about him, which is kind of a lot, what you guys have just covered. He's had a couple of really big controversies, mostly with David Price. The Hanley thing, I thought was handled pretty well. And I think the team bounced back after all of those controversies, whether it was the Fortnite one, the way we got shellacked against the Yankees last time through, and coincidentally immediately went on the run that we're currently on right after that. And we've won, 11 out of the last 12 or something like that, 12 out of the last 13.
Yeah, pretty much that.
And so that's great. I love that about him. What I don't like about him, I don't like the fact that he's excessively resting these guys, especially in circumstances where we're about to have an off day. There's no reason Mookie Betts or JD Martinez needs to be out of the lineup if we're going to have an off day in a couple of days. And so many, I don't know if I want to call them Alex Cora huggers at this point, but Alex Cora defenders are always like, well, that's how he did it with Houston, and it works so well for them. And I'm always like, well, that's great, but we don't have the 12 to 14 game lead that they had all season long. So that's one of my complaints about him. I'm not a big fan of Mookie starting first, as Austin was saying, but I can also agree with the fact that he kind of has to commit to that, at least for now, because if he looks flip-floppy on things, the players might not respect him as much. So I do get that, but Mookie Betts might have a better case to be the MVP if he was hitting in the 3-hole, or at least the 2-hole. I mean, I think Mike Trout hit second, Aaron Judge hit second.
Always.
Yeah, so maybe that's where you put him. But for as bad as the bottom third of the lineup was, I think that definitely cost us a win or two earlier in the year when all three of them, Nunez, Vasquez, and Bradley were all automatic outs. So I don't like that so much, but I don't know. Be that as it may. And another thing I do want to point out is we don't know who he is strategically, regardless of whether we give him an A or a B or whatever. We don't know strategically that he's going to outmanage Terry Francona, that he's going to outmanage AJ Hinch. I'm fairly confident he'll outmanage Aaron Boone, but I think that's an analytics team anyway, so I'm not sure how much that matters there. And Joe Madden on the National League side, I don't know that he would outmanage him. Lovello.
That's okay. So that's fine.
Here we go.
I hate Joe Madden, but we haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen something and been like, oh wow, that was really brilliant. I haven't seen that yet, and some of the matchups are questionable. I do like how he'll go back to a guy when he didn't look so good in a similar spot, previously, whether it was the night before, the night or two before. We've been seeing him try that with Joe Kelly just to kind of show him, hey, I've got your back, I believe in you. But it's getting to the point now with Kelly where I'm like, okay, maybe we don't want to see too many high leverage spots until he can finally show us that he's turned things around a little bit. So that's kind of where I am on him. I could very well be an A+ by the end of October, and we don't necessarily even have to win a World Series for me to get to that point. But and maybe a year or two from now, I could be a diehard Alex Cora defender, like I was with Francona. It's just too early for me to get to that point yet, and it was so weird because when Farrell came, I wanted him on. I wanted him as a manager, and
I did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really had nothing to complain about all season long. And he had the weird double switch thing that he didn't do with Workman, but I kind of gave him a pass there. It's his first time in the postseason, in the World Series, and I just thought, well, he's just going to get better from here anyway. So, but he didn't, obviously. So that went the other way, where I really ended up hating him. But with Cora, I could very much like him. I do see a lot of Terry Francona in him. I really do. So I'm trying to like him. I really am. And he wasn't my first choice. I wanted Ron Gardenhire.
Oh, really? My first choice was Cora through and through.
Yeah. Well, I thought Gardenhire, I mean, he won the division, I think, like 6 out of 10 years, and he did have a couple of Hall of Famers on the team, but it wasn't like the most stacked team ever. And I don't know, he just seemed like a guy who, like Francona, could get more out of less. And we're seeing that with Torey Lovello as well. And
I want him to be the guy over Cora, but when Farrell got sick, I wanted Lovello just to stay through, and then they just kind of let him go off in the sunset. But they didn't want that.
And Lovello is a guy I would have the utmost faith in, and just based on what we saw in that 2015 season as well, like you were mentioning, and so we'll see. I mean, I still think Cora has a lot to prove. He does have the benefit of a terrible division and a terrible American League so far, but we'll see. And I guess I'll bring this next point up as we go over Dombrowski. But any other thoughts on Cora though while we're still on him?
I guess a little contradicting point to you is I love that he is resting guys even with an extra day off there, just because we've always talked about how we hate to see Mookie Betts run down, Chris Sale run down, these guys in the playoffs. And I think if we add up all these extra days these guys are getting here and there, I think it's really going to make a difference. And I do love that he keeps going back to people when they struggle. And that includes the lineup, too. It may be frustrating at times to see JBJ roll out there and keep rolling balls over to first base. But, he's working with them after the game, before the game, just showing confidence. And I think if we were, close to a 500 team right now, or we were 6 games out of first place, that he would make some drastic changes. But I think that what's working for is working with him. And I just like his confidence with the players. That's really my 2 pieces of Cora. I love Cora. I think he's been great so far. And hopefully he doesn't piss me off in October.
Well, I'd rather see him rest like pitchers more than position players. But if we get to October and we win the division by 5 or 6 games, none of this will matter, and I'll probably give him a little credit there. But it's just hard for me to do that, before the All-Star break.
I just know right now that we're 4.5 up going into the All-Star break. So him resting people so far this season has been really good for us. So I'm looking at it from the glass half full currently.
Yeah. Well, true. And there's 100 different factors, though. But we are where we are, so I'm not gonna dive into those really. And there's a million variables, over the course of even 81 games. All right, so we'll go there. But I mean, even though I'm a full letter grade below you guys, I don't. I think we're still
more optimistic than I thought you were going to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's not. It's like a hard B. It's like not an 83, but it's an 86. It's like right.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, you said Joe Madden earlier, and all I heard in my head was Don Orsillo say it's time to fight from the Orioles-Ortiz fight. And I was like, Dave's about to go.
I hate that guy, but
Terry's with me on that one. We both strongly dislike Joe Madden. Well, I hate him, but
It was like a soundbite button. That's all I heard was it's time to fight.
That's all you need.
Yeah. All right, so the last category here is the general manager, president, messiah, whatever he likes to call himself, Dave Dombrowski. Dave, how do you give his performance?
Might surprise you, might surprise some people out there. A+. Absolute A+ from Dave Dombrowski, because he's not brought in his team to beat Tampa Bay and trade away players and bring in prospects and try new things out. He's been brought in to win a World Series and contend every year, and he's done it every year. We need an ace, we get an ace. We need a big hitter, we get a big hitter, JD Martinez. We need a outfield option that's not over the cap, that can hit lefties, Steven Pierce. We need a veteran that can come up late in the year, that can play second base and be great defensively, Brandon Phillips. He has done it all. Every single time they've run him up, he's rang the bell, and he's crushed it. And I still think he has a couple more tricks up his sleeve. I think the fact that no one's been dealt big yet, like no Machados, no one great, and you saw what Herrera's value was, he's just holding his chips, and he's going to turn nothing, which is our farm system, minus like Groom, who I don't think he's going to move, into, an extra bullpen arm, into an extra guy off the bench. And I think he's going to crush it again because he's just done it since he's got here.
Very good. Austin, how do you have him?
I have him at a B+. Just I think there's room for improvement, but the thing that's impressed me the most is the little things. Whether it's bringing Steve Pearson when we need somebody like that, somebody with familiarity in the AL East. Whether it's bringing in Brandon Phillips because we need a veteran second base presence that can play defense, and maybe coach up the younger, like a Devers, somebody like that, and help him with his glove eventually. It's everything that he's done has seemed to work. Everything this season, at least, that he's done has seemed to work. Whether it's DFAing Hanley or Ramirez, you get rid of him, all of a sudden, guys step up. The team starts to click. we talked about it at the beginning of the season. How long is the Hanley Ramirez honeymoon phase at the beginning of the year going to last? Well, it didn't, and Dombrowski jumped right on it.